How do we practice humanity in times of genocide and of deep collective suffering? Hi, I'm Yuri Haasz, and I'm going to be one of the trainers at the coming IIT in Germany this September. And this is a question I've been hearing quite a lot in these difficult times we're living in. My understanding of nonviolent communication is that it goes well beyond just the practice of dialogical actions, the listening, expressing, self-connecting, but rather a shift in the lens with which we look at ourselves, at others, at the world. And that dialogue is one of many strategies that are available to us to care for human needs and to contribute to a world where all needs matter equally. So oftentimes I see people get stuck in looking at these horrifying, gigantic events like the genocide that is happening now in Gaza. And mainly for nonviolent communication practitioners, there's a sense of what do we do with dialogue in face of such horrifying violence? And in fact, there might not be dialogue possible in certain contexts and spheres, and there might be dialogue possible in others. And it becomes so important to be able to identify where are the opportunities of actual dialogue happening. I've experienced many times people exchanging attacks over social media, and for me that is not really dialogue. It is some kind of simulation, but there's nobody really listening and nobody really seeking connection. It's more like a battle, and there's an attempt to win over the other. Also, personal interactions sometimes have this kind of quality, and so my experience has been of losing so much energy in these kinds of interactions where there is a theater of dialogue, but there's no real dialogue happening. On the other hand, I've experienced also opportunities where people are actually confused and in pain and wanting to connect. And this is where nonviolent communication can be really useful, of having a grounded, empathic conversation, making room for pain to be expressed and heard, and being able to practice internally also what does it mean to face one's own responsibility and possibly participation in systems that inflict violence upon others, and how this process of self-empathy can become layered and reaching quite important depths of letting go sometimes of parts of us or parts of our socially acquired identity that isn't really serving us anymore, and that we are not willing to continue to participate in systems or cultures that are attached to strategies that don't meet life and other people's needs. When dialogue is not possible, what I've experienced is that truth-telling, fact-naming becomes very, very important practice. And this is also part of nonviolent communication, the ability of distinguishing between facts and stories, judgments, theories, inferences, assumptions. And oftentimes those are the elements that are governing the stories about certain groups whose needs are not being respected or considered in our world. And usually that is the basis for violence to be practiced against them, and that there's no force that is able to stop that violence. Is that in a way their image is dehumanized and they're not being seen for their humanity. So fact naming, who is being dealt the violent acts and what is happening, and also shining a light on people's humanity, just really rescuing those elements that are not part of the collective narrative, is a way of recovering a collective story that is able to look at everyone involved as equally human and as deserving of protection and respect and dignity. And so these are two elements that I've been noticing in my own investigation of what is the role of nonviolent communication in times of genocide. And this is going to be one of the topics that I'm going to be working with and inviting participants to investigate with me during the IIT. I hope to see you there.